The SCP Foundation was an organization unlike any other. Mission was to contain and study anomalous phenomena that threatened the normalcy of the world. They were a secret society, hidden from the public eye, dedicated to protecting humanity from the dangers of the unknown. Dr. Rachel Thompson was a researcher at the Foundation, working in their headquarters in rural Virginia. She had been with the organization for over a decade and had seen her fair share of strange and unsettling things, but nothing could have prepared her for the message she received on a rainy Wednesday afternoon. Dr. Thompson, we have a new SCP that needs your immediate attention. The message read, "This one is unlike anything we've ever seen before. It's believed to be the most powerful SCP to date." Rachel's heart raced as she read the message. She had always been drawn to the strange and mysterious, and the thought of encountering something truly unprecedented excited her. She quickly gathered her things and headed to the briefing room, where she was introduced to the rest of her team. They were a small group, unpicked by Rachel herself. There was Dr. Sarah Kim, an expert in anomalous biology, and Dr. Matthew Jenkins, a specialist in containment procedures. There were also two field agents, Agent Jensen and Agent Williams, who would be responsible for securing the area and assisting with the investigation. Together, the team was tasked with investigating and containing the new SCP, which had been discovered on a remote island in the Pacific Ocean. They would be flown out to the island in a Foundation aircraft, where they would set up a temporary base of operations and begin their investigation. As the team made their final preparations and boarded the plane, Rachel couldn't help but feel a sense of nervous excitement. She had no idea what they would find on the island or what dangers they might face, but she was ready for the challenge and couldn't wait to see what the most powerful SCP to date had in store for them. The team's plane touched down on the remote island in the early hours of the morning. The island was small and uninhabited, with dense jungle covering most of its surface. The only sign of human activity was a small research facility that had been built by the Foundation to study the new SCP. As they made their way off the plane, Rachel couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The air was thick with humidity, and the sounds of the jungle seemed to be closing in around them. She knew they were in for a difficult mission, but she had no idea just how difficult it would be. The team was greeted by the facility's lead researcher, Dr. John Kim. He was a seasoned veteran of the Foundation and had been studying the new SCP for the past several months. "Welcome to the island," he said, shaking Rachel's hand. "We've been waiting for you. This way. I'll show you to your quarters." Dr. Kim led the team to a small complex of buildings, served as their temporary living quarters. They were simple but comfortable, with bunk beds and basic amenities. After a quick briefing from Dr. Kim, the team settled in for the night, trying to get as much rest as possible before their investigation began in the morning. As Rachel lay in her bunk, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. She knew it was just her imagination. Silence. The jungle seemed to be hiding something dangerous and unknown. She closed her eyes and tried to push the thoughts out of her head, but she knew she wouldn't be getting much sleep that night. The next morning, the team gathered in the briefing room to discuss their plan of action. Dr. Kim presented them with what little information they had about the new SCP, which he had dubbed Loeb. Loeb is an anomalous entity that we believe has the ability to manipulate reality itself, he said, showing the team a series of photographs of the entity. It appears to be able to bend the laws of physics to its will, and we have no idea what it's capable of. That's why we need you here, to help us contain it. Rachel couldn't believe what she was hearing. She had never encountered an SCP with such vast and unpredictable powers, but she was determined to find a way to contain it, no matter what it took. The team spent the rest of the day preparing for their encounter with Loeb. They gathered supplies and equipment, and practiced their containment procedures. Rachel knew that they would need to be at the top of their game if they were going to succeed. As the sun began to set, the team gathered in the briefing room one last time. Rachel stood before them, her nerves jangling. "We're going in at first light," she said. "We don't know what we're up against, but we're going to do everything we can to contain this thing. Are you ready?" The team nodded, their faces determined. Rachel took a deep breath and led them out into the jungle, ready to face whatever dangers lay ahead. The team set out into the jungle at first light, their nerves stretched to the breaking point. They had no idea what they would find when they reached Loeb. They knew they had to be prepared for anything. As they made their way through the dense undergrowth, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She kept glancing over her shoulder, expecting to see some unseen predator lurking in the shadows, but there was nothing there, just the endless expanse of jungle. After several hours of hiking, they reached the location where Loeb had been discovered. It was a small clearing, surrounded by tall trees and thick underbrush. In the center of the clearing stood a strange, glowing object, pulsing with energy. Rachel's heart skipped a beat as she approached the object. It was unlike anything she had ever seen before, and she could feel the power radiating off of it. She knew they had to be careful, but she was also desperate to know more. "Dr. Kim, what do we know about this thing?" she asked, turning to the veteran researcher. Dr. Kim hesitated before answering. "We know very little," he admitted. "It appeared out of nowhere a few months ago and has been growing in power since. We believe it's some kind of reality warping entity, but we have no idea what it wants or why it's here." As they stood in the clearing, watching the glowing object, something strange began to happen. The air around them seemed to simmer and distort, and the sounds of the jungle faded away. Rachel felt a sense of dread wash over her as she realized what was happening. "It's Loeb," she whispered, her voice shaking. "It's reshaping reality." Suddenly, one of the team members, Agent Williams, began to scream. Rachel turned to see him writhing on the ground, his body contorting in unnatural ways. She knew they had to get out of there, but it was too late. "We have to leave him," Rachel shouted, pulling Dr. Kim and the others away from the clearing. "We have to get out of here, now." They ran through the jungle, their hearts pounding in their ears. Rachel knew they had to get off the island as fast as possible, before it was too late. She called for an emergency evacuation, and they waited anxiously for the plane to arrive. As they waited, Rachel couldn't help but wonder what the future held. She knew they had only scratched the surface of what Loeb was capable of, and she knew they had to be prepared for whatever came next. But for now, all they could do was wait and hope that they would make it off the island alive. The team barely made it off the island alive, their nerves shattered by their encounter with Loeb. As they flew back to the mainland, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that they had barely escaped with their lives. When they arrived at the Foundation's headquarters, they were met with a flurry of activity. News of their encounter with Loeb had spread like wildfire, and the Five Council, the highest authority in the Foundation, was eager to hear their report. Rachel and the rest of the team met with the council, who listened intently as they described their encounter with the reality warping entity. They told them about how Loeb had reshaped reality, causing Agent Williams to suffer a gruesome death, and how it seemed to be toying with them, testing the limits of its powers. When they were finished, the council members leaned back in their chairs, their faces grave. "This is a grave situation," said Council Member 5-1. "We've never encountered an SCP with such vast and unpredictable powers. But what you don't know is that Loeb is not an ordinary SCP. It's not even from this universe." Rachel's eyes widened in shock. "What do you mean?" asked. "Loeb is a being from another dimension, one that is beyond our understanding," Council Member 5-2 explained. "It has the ability to cross between dimensions. It seems to be drawn to areas of high energy and activity. We believe it's been attracted to our universe because of the large number of SCPs we have contained here." "But why is it here?" Rachel asked. "What does it want?" The council members looked at each other, their expressions grim. "We don't know," Council Member 5-3 admitted. After learning the true nature of Loeb, the team was more determined than ever to contain it. They knew they were facing a formidable foe, but they were also the best team for the job. Rachel gathered the team in the briefing room to present their plan. "We've been working around the clock to devise a way to contain Loeb," she said. "We've consulted with the top scientists and containment specialists, and we've even reached out to other organizations around the world for help. But with a plan." The team listened intently as Rachel outlined the details of their plan. It involved using a combination of containment fields, specialized weaponry, and a team of the Foundation's most skilled agents and researchers to set up a perimeter around the island and keep Loeb contained. The containment fields would be made of a specialized material that could withstand Loeb's reality warping powers, and the team would be equipped with specialized weapons designed to neutralize Loeb's abilities. "It won't be easy," Rachel warned. "Loeb has already proven to be incredibly powerful, and we have no clue what it's capable of. But if we work together and stay alert, I believe we can succeed." As Rachel spoke, Agent Thompson fidgeted nervously in his seat. "I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this plan," he said. "It seems like we're walking into a trap." Rachel sighed. "I understand your concerns, Agent Thompson," she said, "but we don't have any other options. Loeb is a threat to humanity, and we have to stop it. We just have to be extra careful and stay on our toes." Agent Thompson nodded reluctantly, but Rachel could see the doubt in his eyes. She had to find a way to boost the team's confidence and morale before the mission. Over the next few days, they prepared for the mission. They gathered the necessary equipment and trained for the various scenarios they might face. But as they went through the drills, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She couldn't put her finger on it, but she had a gut feeling that things weren't going to go as smoothly as they hoped. Finally, the day of the mission arrived. The team arrived at the island early in the morning, the air thick with tension. They had been training for this moment for weeks, but they all knew that nothing could prepare them for the reality of facing Loeb. As they disembarked from the plane, Rachel could feel the weight of the mission pressing down on her. She knew that this was the moment they had been working towards, and there was no turning back. They made their way to the perimeter that had been set up around the island, the containment field humming with energy. Rachel scanned the area, her eyes trained for any sign of Loeb. She knew that it could appear anywhere, at any time, and she had to be ready. As they approached the center of the island, Rachel felt a sudden surge of energy. She turned to the team, her eyes wide. "It's here," she whispered. The team tensed, their fingers hovering over their weapons. They knew that this was it, the moment they had been preparing for. Then, Loeb emerged from the shadows, its true form revealed for the first time. It was a being of pure energy, his body swirling and shifting with each movement. His eyes glowed with a cold intelligence, and its mouth was a jagged abyss that seemed to lead to another dimension. Rachel felt her heart pounding in her chest. She had never seen anything like this before, and the sight of Loeb filled her with fear and awe. But she knew they had to act fast, before Loeb had a chance to use powers. The team sprang into action, unleashing a barrage of specialized weapons at Loeb. The air filled with the sound of gunfire, and Loeb staggered under the assault. Its body flickered and wavered, but it didn't stay down for long. With a roar of anger, Loeb unleashed its reality-warping powers. The force of the attack threw the team back, their weapons flying from their hands. Rachel gritted her teeth and tried to regain her footing. It was no use. Loeb was too powerful, and they were no match for it. As she struggled to stand, Rachel saw Agent Thompson out of the corner of her eye. He was struggling to reach his weapon, his face twisted in determination. Rachel knew she had to do something to help him, but she wasn't sure what. Just then, a voice called out from behind them. "Wait, don't shoot." Rachel turned to see a figure running towards them, strange device clutched in their hand. As they got closer, Rachel recognized them as Dr. Aiden, one of the Foundation's top scientists. "Dr. Aiden," Rachel shouted, "what are you doing here?" Dr. Aiden reached them and skidded to a stop, panting heavily. "I've been working on this device," he gasped. "It's designed to neutralize Loeb's powers. If we can get close enough to use, you might be able to contain it." Rachel's eyes lit up with hope. "Is it ready to use?" asked. Dr. Aiden nodded. "It's our only chance," he said. Rachel nodded, her mind racing. Rachel knew they had to act fast. If they could use Dr. Aiden's device to neutralize Loeb's powers, they might be able to contain it. But first, they had to get close enough to use it. "We have to distract Loeb," she said to the team. "Dr. Aiden, you and Agent Thompson stay back and get ready to use the device. The rest of us will create a diversion." The team nodded, their faces grim but determined. They knew the stakes were high, and they were ready to do whatever it took to stop Loeb. Rachel led the team forward, their weapons at the ready. Loeb seemed to sense their presence, its body tensing as it prepared to attack. "Now," Rachel shouted. The team unleashed a barrage of fire, their bullets ricocheting off of Loeb's energy field. Loeb roared in anger. Powers going into overdrive. The ground shook beneath their feet, and Rachel could feel the air thickening with energy. But it was enough. While Loeb was distracted, Dr. Aiden and Agent Thompson moved in, the device held firmly in their hands. They approached Loeb cautiously, their eyes fixed on its writhing form. "Now," Dr. Aiden shouted. They activated the device, and a bright light burst forth, enveloping Loeb in its embrace. Loeb writhed and thrashed, its body contorting as the device worked. And then was over. Loeb's body went limp, its powers neutralized. Rachel and the team approached cautiously, their weapons at the ready. But as they got closer, they saw that Loeb was no longer a threat. Its body was still, its powers inert. Rachel let out a sigh of relief. They had done it. They had contained Loeb, the most powerful SCP to date. But as they celebrated their victory, Rachel and the team approached cautiously, their weapons at the ready. But as they got closer, They saw that Loeb was no longer a threat. His body was still, its powers inert. Rachel let out a sigh of relief. They had done it. They had contained Loeb, the most powerful SCP to date. But as they celebrated their victory, Rachel couldn't help but wonder what other challenges lay ahead. There were always more threats out there, and the Foundation would always be needed to contain them. But for now, they could rest easy knowing that they had saved the world from Loeb. Or so they thought. As they turned to leave, Rachel noticed something strange about Dr. Aiden. He seemed to be acting strangely. His eyes locked on Loeb's inert body. Rachel approached him cautiously. "Dr. Aiden, are you okay?" asked. Dr. Aiden turned to her. His eyes filled with tears. "I can't stop thinking about my wife," he said, his voice breaking. "She was killed by one of the other CPS. I promised her that I would make a difference, that I would use my work to protect people." Rachel's heart ached at Dr. Aiden, how much he had lost, and how much he wanted to make a difference. "I understand," Rachel said softly, "but Loeb is too dangerous to try and communicate with. You can't risk it." Dr. Aiden nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I know," he said. "I just wish there was a way to honor my wife's memory, to make a difference in the world like she wanted me to." Rachel reached out, squeezed Doctor's hand. "You are making a difference," she said. "Your work at the Foundation is saving lives every day. That's a legacy to be proud of." Dr. Aiden nodded, his tears slowing. "You're right," he said. "I just wish it didn't have to be so hard." Rachel smiled softly. "I know," she said, "but we'll get through this together, as a team." Rachel sat in the debriefing room, surrounded by the rest of the team. They had finally succeeded in containing Loeb. At what cost? Dr. Aiden sat next to her. Rachel couldn't even begin to imagine the pain he was going through. "I can't believe it," Agent Thompson said. "We were so close to using Loeb's powers for good." "It's for the best," Rachel said. "Loeb's powers were too dangerous to control. We couldn't risk it." "But what about the device?" Dr. Sarah asked. "We still don't know what it was for." Rachel sighed. "I know, but I have a feeling we'll find out soon enough." Just then, the door to the debriefing room opened, and the 5 council walked in. Rachel sat up straight, her heart racing. "We have some news," the council member said. "We've been able to decipher some of the data from the device. It seems that Loeb was not a destructive force, as we thought." Rachel's eyes widened in shock. "What do you mean?" asked. "Loeb was actually a highly advanced alien life form," the council member said. "It was trying to communicate with us, to warn us about a greater threat that was coming." Rachel's mind raced. "What kind of threat?" she asked. "According to the data from the device, there is a highly advanced and aggressive alien race that is approaching Earth," the council member said. "They have already destroyed several other planets and are on a mission to conquer and enslave any intelligent life forms they encounter." Rachel's heart pounded in her chest. This was a threat unlike any they had faced before. "We have to do something," she said. "We have to stop them." "We will," the council member said. "We'll use all of our resources, all of our knowledge, to come up with a plan to defend against this threat. With Loeb's warning, we'll be better prepared than we would have been otherwise." Rachel nodded, determination filling her heart. They would do whatever it took to protect the world, no matter the cost. With Loeb's warning, they would be ready for whatever came next.